1, 2, wait, how that song go again?
Mr. Expert. Mr. Expert. I'm crazy for this.
Okay. Alright, let me tell you what's gonna happen. The purpose of this video isn't because I feel like Agent's video is wrong. It's not because I'm a undercover 2K dev trying to make 2K people and the 2K community look stupid. The point of this video is that there were certain points made in here that I feel like could easily be turned against us in a way, and there are certain points in here that make us look like we don't know what we're talking about. So I'm gonna do the most British thing possible and explain why some of these arguments are bad, and hopefully somehow have that lead to a place where we as a community can agree on exactly what we want from a 2K game. Okay? Did that make sense? Of course it didn't. Let's get started.
I think content creators are playing current gen instead of next gen because, in my opinion, current gen is a good game.
2K21 last gen is not a good game. I did not think I'd have to be saying that, but no, it's not a good game. Objectively, it's not a good game. The curry sliding, the cheesing, the glitching, the spamming dribbles. Like, we all knew it was literally 2K20, but with a slightly different part. Like, when the trailer first dropped, a lot of the comments I saw were 2K21. Everything is the same, because the game literally is the same as 2K20. So to say it's a good game is nonsense.
The gameplay feels better, it's not sluggish, it's faster.
Not sluggish, faster. What's funny about this is a few months ago we were calling this spamming and cheesing. It's easy for someone from 2K to look at this and just say, you were all complaining about how everyone's spamming and cheesing dribbles, and now it's a little bit harder to spam. You're saying that the last game is better because it's more fluid. All I'm saying is that let's just be very careful with the arguments we're making and how it looks. Because to the wrong people at 2K, this can just look like, bruv, every year they say the last game is just better than this one. They say they're spamming in this game, and then the next game we slow it down. And they say this one's too slow, the last game is better. Now, I'm just saying, let's just be careful.
At the risk of sounding like a broken record, they need to hire more developers. That goes without saying.
Hire more developers? Never gonna happen. Do I have to say why? That would cost more money.
First things first, 2K, you need a skills gap in your basketball game. It goes without saying, and the fact that NBA 2K21 Next Gen is the least skilled version of the game that we've experienced in almost a decade is pathetic. When the game is easy to play, I actually feel like there's no reward to being good at it.
That is true. To an extent, I do agree with that. But it's just one of those things where it looks bad, because how many times in the past where a skill gap has tried to be introduced and then we all complain about how hard the shooting is. Like a few years ago, I think it was 2K20, Chris Smooth did a whole video responding to comments about everyone saying, oh, shooting is hard this year, yo, I can't make shots, shooting is broken.
And like ooh, we got, okay.
They said shoot. What's up? They said you can't shoot online. Well, what's that? That's my second shot. It's a green. They said you can't shoot. I just greened the second shot.
He made like bare greens, he was making shots. And you know, shooting was harder, it was a bit different. And as a community, we all spammed Mike Wang, we all spammed Ronnie, saying how shooting's broken and it needs to be patched. And you can kind of see the trend in a lot of 2Ks where like a week or two into the game, and because the game doesn't feel the same as the last one, or it feels a bit tricky and we haven't got a hold on it straight away, we just immediately say that, oh, this game is broken, this game is trash. And that's kind of what was being said about the dribbling at the start of 2K21 Next Gen. People were saying that dribbling is slow, and because they couldn't spam the same moves as they could in last gen, people immediately dismissed the dribbling, saying it's trash and it's broken. I would agree that at certain points, they've gone too hard in the other direction where they're missing wide open layups. What makes a good contest or what makes a bad contest are completely blurred. But still, you can see how it looks bad that in years where they have tried to make a change and switch up the gameplay, we've immediately complained until they switch it back to how it was last year. Realistically, as a community, we'd have to agree to what kind of game we want. Obviously, from 2K's perspective, you can't please everyone. There's going to be people who are upset that dribbling is slower. There's going to be people who are upset that you can just spam dribbles all the time. There's going to be people upset that you can just fade and hit contested shots. There's going to be people who are complaining that even if there's a slight contest, there should still be a good chance of my shot going in because of my release or my ratings. So we really just have to agree as a community as to what type of basketball game we want, or else we'll just keep going around and then 2 weeks later we've gone back to exactly how the game was.
I think the biggest problem with 2K21 is that they need to make things less inconvenient. The way that the gameplay is, the way that the whole shape of like the park or neighborhood, whatever they're calling it. Like all that stuff is just massively inconvenient. And to make it way more easy and simpler, they need to go back to basics.
This is true. It's Reese has been saying this. Like in his reaction to the trailer, straight up just wasn't impressed. Like 2K was coming out saying the city is bigger than ever before. And straight away man was like,
I'm gonna be honest. It looked like the same neighborhood to me. What are you talking about, my city? I'm still running around the neighborhood talking about my city. I don't want to go nowhere. All I want to do is play basketball, and 2K keep stopping us from doing that. Did you know they added dancing combination? Now you can combo your dance moves. You can crank that Soldier Boy in the middle of the street instead of playing basketball, which you brought the game to do. That doesn't even make sense, bro.
Bro, we don't want a huge city. Like, it's long enough that we have to run across the court to go change our shoes, or run across the court to change our hairstyle. Like, that's not what we're looking for in a game. I agree completely.
And so when there's no reward to being good at the game, why would you play the game? Everyone begins to cheese and just run the same sets. Everyone has the same players. Everyone got the same 3 builds, and everyone has the same exact play style. That's not fun.
This is true. But how much blame could we actually put on 2K for this? Like this year, we probably have the most customization ever in terms of specifically placing attributes where we want them and taking away attributes where we don't want them. Everyone's reactions to how we can now build our players was overwhelmingly positive. From a lot of the videos I saw, people were happy that they could finally build a KD or they could finally build a LeBron. And that's why this one's a bit tricky, because it's easy for this argument to look bad. I've seen many YouTubers who are complaining about how we all have the same builds, pay people to go and find out what is the best build. How can we maximize the amount of badges on this build? What's the best build for this? What's the best build for that? You can't make a YouTube video saying, this is the best build, I've tried this and this and this, and I've put this together, and this is the one that's, you know, the all-around threat. And then be surprised when the hundreds of thousands of people that watch that video go and then make the exact same build, and then say that everyone on 2K has the same build. One thing that interests me is that I saw quite a few 2K20, 2K21 reviews, even back to like 2K19, about people saying that the game lacked customization because you couldn't build the player that you wanted. You couldn't build a KD build, or you couldn't build a LeBron build. Let's say 2K18, for example, you were stuck with picking one primary and one secondary, which was incredibly limiting. And for me, my opinion is somewhat controversial, because although I was not happy with the builds that you could create, or the creativity or freedom that they would give you to build the build, but I could see how this would be a problem in the future, similar to how it was in 2K17, for example, where the game was full of demigods and there was 1 or 2 builds that would be able to dominate. The hard thing about making a system where you can make a KD or make a LeBron is that in the NBA, there is one KD and there is one LeBron. The tricky thing is, how would that work in a community of millions and millions of players, where you would end up having hundreds of thousands, if not millions of LeBrons? And I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, because I find it very difficult as to how I would make a system in which I could give freedom to every player to create whatever player they want, and still not have that lead to a situation where players are complaining that there are too many of one build. I find it very hard to see how you could balance every build between each other. So what's the solution there? I don't know.
The reality is 2K never launches ready. So let's look into the past to see what we could do in the future. Every single year when the game launches, there's something catastrophically wrong. We all rush to try and address it. The devs get to it at some point in the first few weeks of the game's launch, and the game becomes playable again. How do we skip over that whole part so that the game just launches ready every single year?
Okay, now I'm a very firm believer in controlling what you can control. And the question that comes to me, knowing the business ethics of a company like 2K, what incentive would 2K have to spend time and money making a game day one ready when they know they have thousands, if not tens of thousands of people who are going to pre-order the game and pre-order the $100 edition, okay? 2K only hears money. 2K makes decisions solely on what's gonna affect their pocket. You can't come and complain and then still put money into Ronnie's big fat dirty pockets. I'm just playing Ronnie. I know it doesn't all go into your pocket. It's direct debit into your bank account, innit? No, but honestly, 2K is only bothered about how much money they make, and they don't care about how much you complain or how much you tweet if you're still gonna keep giving them money every single year. As crazy as it sounds, I honestly think if we just went 1 year without pre-ordering, where we didn't drop hundreds of whatever currency you have on VC day one, it's like, damn, you have to max out straight away, fam. And even if that's hard, if we just limit ourselves to what, the 75,000 VC or the one that cost like £19 or something in my currency, I feel even a drop like that would hurt 2K enough, or would make them feel something where they would then start to take our claims a little bit more seriously when they see that their revenue has dropped by a certain percent.
The game feels more stiff than it ever has. I don't understand how 2K14, 15, and 16 can feel so much more fluid, can feel like a real actual player.
Feels fluid and like a real player. Not sure about that one, mate. Even though years ago we all complained about how unrealistic and how annoying the spamming, the cheese dribbles, the speed boosts were. Like, let's just be careful to not have selective memory and fall into the trend that this game is trash and the ones before were great, and then skip over the issues that we ourselves called out in those games. Like, let's not become that old guy who hangs around in the parking lot and tells you how great life was back in his day, back in the 1920s or something, because it wasn't great. Yeah? Don't forget about cholera and measles, okay? Alright? It makes us look bad when we praise previous 2Ks for things that we criticized them for. The spam dribbles, the cheese, the blow-bys. So be careful with our words, yeah?
And then in next generation game, when they added physics and added all this more movement, you feel like, it feels like I'm literally playing Roblox when I play that game.
Funny joke, but I will still have to add that the physics in this game aren't as good as they promised me. I'm sorry. I'm not seeing evidence of foot planting improvements. I'm still snapping into animations like a robot. The movement looks unrealistic. I'm still slipping and sliding across the floor like I'm Michael Jackson moonwalking across the stage. Just thought I'd add that, but I do agree. Alright, well, I obviously do agree with what the video is saying. I don't particularly like 2K as a company, their business ethics. However, when we just give them money every single year for the exact same thing, can you blame them for exploiting that? I mean, what else would you expect, really? This video is really just me playing devil's advocate. I know it's easy to watch the video and get the impression that like I'm a 2K apologist, but it's quite the opposite. I'm really just nitpicking our arguments just to make them more solid. For someone like me who's just a guy that plays 2K, listening to the arguments made, it's easy to see how it can look like a lot of the claims that we're making just have no ground. 1 year we're saying the dribbling's too slow, the next year we're saying it's too quick and everyone's cheesing. 1 year we're saying too many shots are going in, the next year we're saying not enough shots are going in. And there's actually backing for what we're saying, but in a lot of cases the way we make our arguments makes it look like we're just hopping on trends each year just to say that 2K this year is trash and last year was better, even though we said that one was trash and the year before that was better. So that's why I'm being quite pedantic, really. It's because I want there to be change in 2K. I want to make sure that we have the best arguments going forward. As big-headed as that sounds, I don't think I have all the answers at all or can phrase myself perfectly, but there's just certain arguments being made, and I feel that if 2K wanted an easy out, they could just pick up on certain stuff that's been said and twist it and make it look like we're just constantly saying that the game is trash and we don't know what we want, right? And I feel like focusing our ideas and actually deciding what kind of 2K game do we want, alright? Because the game's not going to be perfect for everyone. What kind of system do we want to make our builds in which everyone won't have the same one, yet still giving the freedom for people to make whatever build they want? Alright, that's all I had to say. Great video, Agent. I just feel like there's certain points in here that 2K could easily, I love how I'm talking about 2K like there's some, like it's LexCorp, some evil corporation from a comic book. I just don't want us to look like hypocrites or people who just want to complain because it's cool. Alright, so hopefully 2K22 is much better, but will it be? Not really. Could it be? Maybe. Hotel Trivago.
1, 2,
Wait, how that song go again?
Mr. Expert. Come on, Mr. Expert.